Welcome back to another special edition of the Michael Decon program. First-time listeners out there, pleased to meet you. I am Michael Decon, a mere figment of your imagination. Please don't be shy, come again. Tonight we will be joined by a veteran, Mr. Andrew Radziewicz. He's been here before. There's a lot to discuss here tonight, so we will get down to brass taxes in a moment here. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me into your hearts and into your minds. Here we are again, on a night like this. Very good to see all of you out there. I see you in the chat room, yes. Typing away. I'm excited for this one. Let's get down to brass taxes and bring in Andrew. And on the line is Andrew Radziewicz. How's it going, my friend?
Excellent, Michael. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's morning time right now where I am here in Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, you are the man from down under today.
That's right.
Right. And Andrew, back in the early days, you were actually here on the program many, many moons ago.
Yep, that's right.
So this isn't exactly your first rodeo here on the program.
Oh, no, not at all. I was looking forward to come back on. It's been a while. It's been too long.
How long exactly has it been? Like 2017 or something? I don't know.
Wow. I would say it's been a good, 2 years since probably I was on your show. Yeah. It's
I have no idea.
A year, 2 years, something like that. A while.
2-3 years? I have no idea.
Something like that.
The time just flies by. Yeah, it's all a blur. Just like the early stages of the pandemic. It's kind of a blur right now.
I was going to say, I know that I was on your program pre-COVID. And that's scary to say, right? We'll go into that reference, but it is what it is.
Pre-COVID BC. That's the reference I got.
That's right.
Oh, yes. So, Andrew, once again, welcome to the program. Always a honor and pleasure to have you here. And it's been too damn long. We got to do this more often.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll get into it, but there's things I've learned along the way through multiple lockdowns and, this prison system, this grid that we're in.
Right.
And we learn as we go. So.
Yeah, so tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Andrew, because, there will be some new people out there that have never heard you before, and right now would be a great opportunity to sort of break this down with you. This is the time where we sort of get a better look at you, Andrew. We x-ray you from the insides, and we find out what you're really made out of.
Sure, excellent. So basically, I would break it down like this. Growing up, I was born and raised pretty much in New York. Growing up, I started watching the television program with my grandmother, Unsolved Mysteries. I'm sure some of your listeners have watched that or have heard of it over the years. Classic show. And when I was around 13, 14, 15, it really started sinking in, that, all right, there's something else going on. Like there's something greater than this reality, maybe these spirits, maybe there's something to this about afterlife and ghosts and UFOs. But I would just watch the program and discuss it with my grandmother, Joan. And I said, Graham, for some reason it came to me to say this to her. For some reason I looked at her and said, Graham, I said, when you die and you go to the afterlife and you're up in heaven with Grandpa, I said, I want you to make sure that you come through and say hi to me. I want to know you're okay. I don't want to see a feather on the ground. I don't want to see a coin. I don't want to see a fucking rainbow.
Right.
I don't want to see no nonsense.
Yeah.
I want to know 1,000% that you're okay. I have to know this. And she looked at me and said, of course I will. I promise I will. And we never spoke about that again. We just left that alone. That was around 1995. Just say I was around 15 roughly. And I did not think about it again, honestly. It was just like something came out of me. I just felt the need to say that, left it alone. So we fast forward a few years later, around 1999, I'm in the U.S. Coast Guard, and I am on a boat down in the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, doing a patrol out in the middle of nowhere. All I see is blue seas everywhere. That's it. Blue seas, that's it. There's nothing going on. I am the night watchman. It's after midnight. I am out on the boat. I'm on top of the boat, which we call that the flying bridge. And below me is the bridge. So the bridge is where all the officers are, the radar men, and the guy actually driving the boat. So you rotate. So one guy on the flying bridge, he's the lookout man. So you grab regular old school, 1970s regular binoculars. You scan the boat. Then at that point, 1999, we did have night vision. Probably wasn't the best at the time, but it was good enough. I believe it was probably maybe second generation at that point, maybe. But it was pretty good. You could see things in the sky that you probably couldn't see with the naked eye. So I'm on the flying bridge. I'm on top of the boat. It's after midnight. It's dead silent. You know, the guys that aren't working in the bridge or flying bridge area are down below, sleeping, hanging out, watching movies, whatever you do when you're out at sea. And I'm on the flying bridge. I look with my regular binoculars. I don't see anything. I grab my night vision goggles. I remember looking to my left, and I could just see a silver round object. So I see one, and I'm thinking, all right, it's a satellite, right? It's got to be explainable, because what else could it be? And then I see another one. So they're kind of staggered, going in what looks like a formation, but they're pretty close. So from what I had seen previously with satellites, they didn't fly that close together. It just looked odd. So being, a 19-year-old young man, I don't know. So what do? I call down to the bridge. I let my officer on duty know. The officer on duty comes up, grabs the binoculars. He looks. Next thing I know, there's about 20 people on top of the boat on the flying bridge. Someone went down below and woke up the captain. So to wake a captain up after midnight in the middle of nowhere, I would say that it's probably for a good reason. They're not just going to go wake the guy up for nonsense. So the captain comes up. We're all looking at this object. And now we're passing around multiple pairs of binoculars.
Right.
Night vision. And now at this point, I could start to make out the object with my naked eye. So I'm seeing the two of them now, just looking at it. It started to get clearer. At first, I could only see it with the night vision. It seemed that far away. So I don't know if the object was getting closer or my vision was getting more refined, but I could just make better sense of what I was seeing now. And I grabbed the binoculars and I'm looking back, and all of a sudden the two objects come together and they're one. So they just literally merge together.
Ah, okay.
And as they merge together, next thing happens, boom, they're gone.
They're gone. Wow.
So they do not leave a trace. From what I saw and what I could tell, they were silent. I could not hear a hum. I don't know the exact distance that they were, because the radar man who was down below in the bridge said, I have nothing on the radar. That's impossible. So if something is in our area, right, a radar man would be able to pick that up. If I could see it with my eye or my night vision, the radar man's picking it up.
Right, right. And this was 1996, correct?
99.
99. Okay, sorry.
So just to give you like a landmarker, pre 9/11. So pre 9/11, I could tell you this: if an object is in the sky, or a boat was going by the bow or the stern, the front or the rear of the boat, if a object was passing by, or a boat, or say someone was driving a cruise boat and they did not identify themselves to us, number one, that's illegal. And the second thing we can do, this is in 1999, I don't know about today, the next thing we would do is the gunner's mate would go man the 50 cal and the 225 cal machine guns we had, and we could shoot them, because that's an act of, that's a threat. That's a direct threat to us.
Sure.
It's basically it's like an act of war, or whatever you want to consider it. All I knew is basically, if you passed our boat, you would have to pick up your radio and say, this is so-and-so vessel, we're passing by, we're in the area.
Protocol, right.
Yeah, you gotta, let us know what's going on. It's decency, because we were patrolling the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. So you're dealing with Cuba, Fidel Castro, you're dealing with people that are potentially hostile, and obviously other weird stuff that's going on that we're not aware of. So this object vanished. We couldn't identify it. We couldn't obviously make radio contact with it, because we weren't even picking it up. There was nothing registering, nothing. So what I could say is, if it was a test military experiment, right, which is always possible. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I can't tell you that for sure. What I can say is we couldn't identify the crew that was there, and we could have shot at the thing. So if they were testing something and we shot at it, now you're putting several people at risk.
At risk, correct.
You're putting the 72 sailors on the boat at risk, whatever is on that object, and then anyone in the area. If we misfire or something goes down. So for a test, for a test to be going on at that point, military or black project, maybe it is, but that would be extremely dangerous.
It would be pretty risky to be conducting that sort of operation, especially not informing you just even a little bit. A heads up, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, this is 1999. This is pre 9/11.
Things were a lot looser, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world, right? It's a different world.
Way different.
So
yeah.
to engage and to shoot at something would not have been that big of a deal. Like, it wouldn't have been after 9/11, would have been a lot stricter and things would have been different. But pre 9/11, we technically could have shot at them and gotten away with it. You know what I mean? Like, we could have justified, hey, they didn't identify themselves, we shot them. That's it. Case closed. And I'm saying that because we used to catch drug runners smuggling in drugs from Cuba. They would put them on these little boats with giant engines. They would put all these drugs, cocaine, heroin, whatever they had, ice, all this shit. They would load them on these boats, and in the bottom layer of the boats, they would have migrants hidden.
Right.
And they would race them into Miami. And at the time, in 1999, there was a dry foot policy in Miami. So I don't know about today, but basically, if they could get to Miami and the migrants in the boat, if they could make it on shore, they were free to stay. Now, it would happen all the time, Michael. We would catch them in the act. So the only way you catch them is if their boat breaks down. Because you ain't catching them on a boat with giant twin engines that's flying with drugs on it and guns. You're not going to catch them. No way. Yeah. So sometimes the boats would break down. And sometimes people would paddle. Literally, they would go in like an old school rowboat from Cuba, and we would find them. They were lost because they didn't have a compass, and their skin was turned purple from being sunburned. So we would take them on the boat, and then we literally would light their boat on fire and watch it burn. That's it. That's all we could do. Light them on fire. We'd bring them to America, right? Because we would say, where are you from? Oh, we don't have English. We don't speak English. We don't have ID, whatever they would say. We'd bring them to the shore in Miami. The police would come, bring them in. They would call Cuba or wherever they claim they were from. And Cuba would say, no, they're not from here. We don't know who they are. And now they get to stay in America.
What a life. But yeah, that's how it used to be.
I mean, amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it was for a long time, and many people still assume that that's what it's like here today. You could just sort of stay, and everything's good, but no, you will be transported back. And, early on, it was kind of hard to transport some people back to certain countries, and that's kind of what's happening today right now, actually.
Yeah, I keep tabs on that. I see what's going on. I know that back then it was a little bit of a free-for-all.
Right.
And even people that would, if they were going back or staying, whatever, they would be in jail. The cost of keeping them in jail, feeding them, housing them, and they're in jail for what? Trying to get into the country. They're not, a mass murder or, whatever it is. So they basically figured, well, we might as well just put them out and get them to work, and at least they're on the books working or whatever they're doing. So the system was so crazy, and it seems like now they have a little better of a grasp on it. However, getting back to, unidentified flying objects,
right.
After this happened and we saw this, the next day, no one spoke about it. Now, I was never briefed. I was never debriefed. I could tell you this, that we'll get into some future things, but usually when there's a test experiment going on, somehow miraculously the next day, guys in suits will show up,
right.
either from the Army intelligence, Air Force intelligence, Coast Guard intelligence, whatever it is. They'll show up, they'll debrief everyone, and they'll say they want to know exactly what you saw, what went down, and they'll say, don't ever talk to anyone about this. That never happened. Never happened. So
right.
That is why I share about this, because I was never told to shut up or, you'd be in danger or it just happened. I don't know how to explain it, but these events are so common as we see today. You have Navy pilots saying that they would see hundreds of these. Well, I was seeing them in 99. I don't know about what they're seeing today, but I could tell you that me and 20 other witnesses saw it. People will always ask me, oh, what about these other witnesses? Will they come forward? Well, I have to tell you, most of them are still in the military. I know I keep in touch with these guys, and I would, number one, never say their names or anything like that. That's totally unethical. If they don't want to go there, I respect that. All I know is I could talk about it. I have no problem sharing what I saw, but putting pieces together of what things that have transpired in my life after, I believe in my heart that what I saw at the time was the real thing, was UAP, UFO,
yeah.
Unexplainable.
I agree. And thanks for your service, by the way. I've had friends in the Navy also make claims about seeing objects in the sky out there. And, there was like a handbook that talked about this sort of thing. This was back in 2003, I would say. And yeah, yes. I had a friend talk to me about that. Pretty weird stuff.
I'll tell you this, my Uncle John, who passed away last year, he got in the Navy around the Vietnam era, did many, many years, and he got out as a he was a commander. He was a commander in the U.S. Navy, and he worked on submarines his whole career. He was on every submarine you could think of. He had interacted with it, been on it, and then he got out.
This is where we were going to go, by the way, naturally. So I'm glad you're telling me this now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I got into this last time. So there's a lot of stuff that come up as time goes on. You remember things, and out of respect to him, I didn't want to talk about him while he was still alive. You know what I mean? He passed away, and now it's appropriate. So we'll get into it. So after he got out of the Navy, he worked for Lockheed. He worked for Lockheed for many, many years, doing all sorts of projects. I could tell you this, when people talk about, reverse engineering and all that stuff, they would go to work, right, in an environment like that at Lockheed, and they would have 40 different coworkers, and they would tell them, don't talk to your coworkers about anything. Well, of course, at lunch, it's human nature to bullshit.
Right.
Hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? So what they would do is they would have people go in and work on projects that did not exist. They had them working on fake projects because they thought, or they always knew that, all right, out of the 40 guys we just hired, probably 10 of them are going to talk. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, they had the statistics done. So they would catch people either talking to coworkers at work, or they go back home and they monitor everyone, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, they have to. It's national security at risk.
Right. They wanted to see who was going to stooge someone off.
So they would go back, let them see things, right? And they would be convinced, oh man, this is real. Like what I'm working on, this is the real thing. They'd go home, they'd make a phone call, they'd talk to somebody, and then of course they'd catch you, right? And what do? They arrest you. Your ass is going to fucking military prison or federal jail or whatever they did. You're gone. You ain't going on George Knapp talking about it.
Yeah.
So when people ask me about Bob Lazar, I could tell you this. My uncle worked for Lockheed. He never told me anything, ever. When I asked him, he said, Andrew, all I could tell you is I know what the U.S. military was capable of when I was in the military. I'm not in any longer, so I don't know what they're capable of. That's all I'll leave it at. That's all he said ever to me. He won't talk about anything. So people always ask me, what about Lazar? What about this and that? And I said, well, I asked Dr. Greer. We'll get into that when I met him about these types of projects and Lazar. And he said, yeah, Bob saw what he saw, but it was staged because they knew he would talk. And he did. I said, okay, well, that makes sense. That does kind of make sense with the way these programs run.
I was going to quickly add, do you think Bob Lazar is at all credible, or do you think he has been misled on certain things? It's like a 50-50 sort of scenario where he is given, or he was sort of legit, he was given these certain black projects to work on. But of course, there were, like you said, some projects that weren't exactly legit. Do you think something of that nature happened? This
is a great segue. So I experienced what I did in the military, and then I heard of Dr. Greer. And in 2011, I joined the FDNY in 2006. I was a firefighter in Brooklyn. In 2011, I had heard of Dr. Greer claiming that he could proactively make contact with UFOs, aliens, ETs, higher beings, whatever you want to call them. And I said, I don't believe the guy, but I heard him speak at the National Press Club in 2001 in Washington, and he had all these ex-military guys. So I said, at the very least, I want to go meet this guy and meet the military guys because I might be able to believe them if I talk to them, but I got to meet them in person. So I flew out to the desert in California to Borrego Springs in late October 2011 with about 20 to 30 people I did not know. The actor Thomas Jane was there. Might know him from The Punisher.
Yeah.
Yep, he was there. And then Dr. Greer and all these people were there, his team members. So one of the first things I asked Dr. Greer when I met him was, what about Lazar, Bob Lazar? And he said to me that he goes, yes, I know Bob very well. He goes, Bob saw what he saw, but they set it up a certain way because he lied about his application. They knew that he was vulnerable and potential to spreading what he saw. And they knew he was friends with John Lear. So they said, this is perfect. So what I can say is I genuinely believe that Bob believes what he saw. And maybe there was some truth to it. But what I could tell you is my experience being around this weird shit for a long time.
Right.
Claiming to see an ET, right? I heard that he stated he saw an ET behind a curtain or it was on the other side. I'm very skeptical about that. I'm just very skeptical about that part, that maybe he did see something, but was it the real thing? Was it a real extraterrestrial? I don't know. I think that it just adds to the mystery. And yes, he saw what he saw. However, I can assure you this because I know a guy by the name of, you might know this guy too, Richard Doty.
Right.
You might have heard of him. I know him very well, and I could assure you this, that if Lazar or someone was seeing something like he saw and they did not want that to get out, he would have just disappeared. That's it. There would be no George Knapp. There would be no story. There'd be no documentary. There would be nothing.
That's what I assume.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said that's what I assume as well.
You have to remember, when you go into the military and then you have credentials, that's one thing. You go into the Black Project world. They basically can trust you, right? Because they know you serve your country, you swore to an oath. And when you go into the black world, it's similar. You sign your life away. You write that if you betray them, if you betray the country, if you lie, if you're told not to talk about something, which I would venture to say that they probably told Bob Lazar that when he was at Area 51, you can't say anything of what you're seeing, right? I would think. I don't know, but
I would imagine
it was some sort of secrecy thing, right? I would guess.
Yeah.
So, and then they would state that if you do, this is what's going to happen. I don't think they said the men in black are going to harass you. I bet you they said you're going to jail or you're going to be executed.
Or you're going to get killed.
They have the right to execute you. Like they literally do. They have the right to execute you if you share certain sensitive information. So I believe he saw what he saw and he just relayed it, and it just adds to the partial truth, partial disinfo bullshit that's out there that we're currently seeing, which we'll get into. So when I had met Greer in 2011, he claimed that I could proactively initiate contact with these UFOs. And I said, all right, I'm not buying it, but I'm open. I just don't believe that is possible because prior to that, my experience was, right, I'm in the military, I see UFOs, but I just saw them. At that point, it was just, well, I'm just in the right place at the right time. I just happened to be the lone night watchman when these UFOs appeared, which weren't on radar, which no one saw. I was the first to see, right? I thought it's just coincidence.
And Andrew, let me quickly add or ask you this really quickly. When you first saw these things in the sky, what did you first initially think? Did you assume that perhaps this was, one of ours, or did you think maybe this is from another world or anything of that nature ever, first pop into your brain?
Well, initially, when I first saw it, my first thought was, all right, your mind wants to tell you no, like it's a satellite. It's swamp gas. It's something. But it was like, it just shined and glistened. It was like perfect. That's all. It was perfect. This thing was perfect. It was almost too good to be true. I was just like, oh my God. My gut feeling, right? Yeah. My intuition was telling me, and without a doubt, the way the thing vanished, the way the thing disappeared, I knew there's no way a human being could have been in that. Because if a human was operating that, if it was inside of it, the way that it just vanished, the human being inside of it, it would have exploded.
Right.
Your body parts, you couldn't possibly have handled the gravitational force, and moving that fast. No way.
No doubt. And of course, Stephen Greer, I believe the story goes, after reaching a certain meditative state of, I think he says, cosmic consciousness. I think he said that. I'm not quite sure. That he could sort of interact with extraterrestrial beings.
Right. So seeing the light in the sky when I did, I thought, all right, well, that's just the light in the sky. That's all it is. And it's going to come and go when it wants, right? I have no control over that. Probably never see one again. There's nothing I could do about it. So I just kind of left it alone, until meeting Greer. And then he told me, hey, we can proactively communicate with these beings. I said, all right, show me. Let's go. And I went there. My partner at the time was a New York police officer. So a decent trained observer, right? And myself being a firefighter at the time for 5 years. Yeah,
but Andrew, what compelled you though to really go out there though, man? Like what grabbed you by the balls and, made you think, well, shit, I got to go out there and make this happen. Because, it takes a certain individual to go after it.
Yeah, and of course, you're going to California for a week and airfare for 2 people, hotels, and my partner at the time, we like to travel all over the world. We went everywhere, Germany, Switzerland, and we said, all right, we wanted to go out to the West Coast anyway. We said, let's do it now, even though we didn't really have, $5 grand laying around. We just said, you know what, let's just do it.
Right,
because by the time we get older, there's going to be an excuse or something's going to happen or,
Good
COVID
point.
or, whatever's going to come up in life, right?
Right.
So fuck it. She was open to it. I was open to it. We started watching the videos online, but I said, you know what? I'm getting the feeling, right? My intuition's telling me this is something that I need to go to the source and learn how to do this the right way.
Interesting.
I don't want to fuck around in my backyard right outside at night. And next thing you know, I'm pulling in, I'm just stating, you're pulling in interdimensional beings like you hear about or some crazy shit. And now you have all these attachments. That's not my story. And I don't believe in a lot of that anyway, but I've heard about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be smart about this and do this the right way.
Yes. And I'm not sure if you had, an earlier experience at all, but I think Stephen Greer also had a very early experience when he saw craft when he was about 9 years old, I believe the story goes.
Yeah, he had an experience, I know, and a near-death experience, which I had one too when I was a very young child. I was about 3 or 4 years old. I told this is pretty random, but I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I died once already. I drowned in water. I said, and when I died, I said, I went up to heaven. I said, I saw this guy with a big beard. I saw Jesus. I said, and now I'm back and you're my new mother in this life. And at the time, we were not church-going people. We were not going to church every Sunday. Nothing to that. Nothing to that. Nothing at all. So my mother just looked at me and said, okay, honey. And
yeah,
that's it. Just left it alone. So why did I say that at that point in my life? We're going to piece this together as I keep explaining more of the story. So, but I just did remember that I had some sort of interaction with something greater, whatever it is.
Interesting.
Was it literally Jesus? I can't say that it was 1,000% him, but something happened. All I can tell you is I told my mother what I told her, and I know she ain't lying. So we'll get into that, though. So I meet Greer. He explains CE5. We go out to the desert. The first night, nothing happens. So, of course, I think, oh, my God, I'm ruining it for the whole group. I'm an asshole. I never tried to do this before, so I'm the rookie. I must be messing it up for everyone. So I go back to my room with my partner about 2, 3 in the morning. I wake up. There's a green light on the wall, the size of it like a camera flash. I wake my partner up. I go, you see that? She goes, yeah. And I go to the wall, and I go to touch the light. Now it's gone. So we're looking all over the room for this thing. Can't find it. I'm like, shit. Now, keep in mind, we're staying in the desert. We're in Borrego Springs. There's no lights on outside. You're in the desert. You're in the middle of nowhere.
I know where that's at, by the way. Great spot.
Yeah. So, I mean, perfect for contact.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So, now, of course, though, first night, nothing happens. I see this green light. I'm like, all right, it's got to be a smoke detector or something in the room. It's got to be explainable. Looking for a practical answer always first. To all this, always look for the practical answer first, right? Got to be something. We're searching the room, nothing. I go back into bed, boom, the light reappears. So now the light moves. The light moves a few feet. So it's moving up, down. So we look at each other. We're like, okay, we both see this. There's nothing in the room doing this. There's no trickery. I get up now. I'm looking again. The light's still there. Now it's not moving at all. It's staying stationary in that same spot. It's not disappearing. So we connected with this light, right? We just meditated and said, all right, I guess this is it, right? This is an orb or something to that degree. And it's at the edge of the bed and 2 feet away. So maybe it's 7, 8 feet from us, maybe maximum. So we look, we meditate, and hours go by. The thing is still there, Michael. We were just fixated. We were meditating and literally speaking out loud to it telepathically. What I was feeling is that this is just like a little light here in the room, and there was something massive outside. But I did not want to get up and go outside because I didn't want this thing to go away, So I just said, you know what? Let's just enjoy the moment. Let's just stay present. No pictures, no videos. At this point, Michael, in 2011, up until 2016, 17, I didn't want to take a picture. I didn't want to take a video. I didn't want anyone at work knowing that I did this. I wanted to just do this in my private time. So we enjoyed it. The next morning, we go meet Greer at 9 a.m. for breakfast. And he says, did anyone have an experience in that hotel room last night?
Wow.
And I raise my hand and I explain. And he goes, well, what do you think it was, Andrew? I want you to tell the group. And I just said, I felt like something was outside. I could just feel it. And this little light was like something that was sent out of it. And it was like downloading us or interacting with us. And Greer said, yeah, this is what happens. Now he said, watch what happens. And let me tell you, Michael, from that day on, the end of October 2011, every single day of my life, if I want to, I will go have contacts. I will go outside. I will do the protocols that Greer taught me. Or sometimes I'll be in my house and I'll just get a feeling I'll say to my wife or my kids, hey, I feel something. I got to go outside. I'll walk outside, and either there's an object there or bang, one appears.
That's pretty crazy. So you could sort of like summon one of these things, in other words.
Yes, people call it summoning. It's known as the close encounter of the fifth kind method, which is just a human being initiating contact with these objects, with these beings. Now, this is going to expand. So this is just opening the box, just cracking it at this point.
Right.
I fly back to New York. Greer tells me there's a lady in New York. Her name is Marilyn Gawak, Gewacke. If anyone is in the Northeast or near Albany, New York, and they're interested in making contact, you could look her up. Since 2011, when I flew back from Greer's place, I met Marilyn and her team, and every weekend, still, since 2011, since I met them, they were doing it for like a year or two prior, but one weekend a month, we would drive up to near Albany to Marilyn's house. We all sit outside and we make contact, or we go inside when it's freezing out and we make contact, pictures, videos, the whole nine, man. Most of the time, we do not share these. We do not post these. These are just for the group members because a lot of people there are private, so they don't want their identities known, and I respect that. That's fine. Marilyn, though, Marilyn's out in the public. She don't care. She wrote books about this, talks about it. She's a PhD psychiatrist. So when people ask me, what kind of nut jobs do you make contact with? I said, actually, they're extremely intelligent, the people I make contact with. This is no joke. So we've been doing this a long time. I went up to Marilyn's house, and I remember I was there making contact for about a good year. One night I'm sitting in the circle. We're inside. It's freezing out. There's snow coming down. There's icicles on the windows. So when that happens, it's obviously hard to see outside. Well, Michael, being inside this house, in the room, we're sitting in like a yoga meditation room. I like to keep my eyes open when I meditate so I don't miss anything. Doesn't matter if they're open or closed. It's up to the individual. Greer told me that. That's what I do. I like to keep them open. So they're open, and all of a sudden, I see these purple tic-tac size droplets coming down from the ceiling, one after another. Boom, 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 boom. And they're going into my chest. So I'm in a meditation in the circle. I can't knock anyone next to me and say, hey, man, do you see that? You know, we're all silent. We're just doing our thing. So they come into my chest, and then they exit my chest and go back up. So the meditation ends, and the people in the room are like, Andrew, oh, my God, I saw a couple ETs around you. Now, the people that said that have been making contact with ETs probably for 10 years. I'd only been doing this at this time for like a year. So I was like, what do you mean? I don't see any ETs. At that point, I didn't see any ETs. So I said, I saw these purple lights, though, about a dozen of them drop down from the ceiling, go into me, and go out of me. And they were like, wow, that's interesting. So what I've learned along this journey is, Michael, people that have been doing this for longer, or people that are at different points in their evolution or awakening, whatever you want to call it, some people see things visually. Some people see lights. Some people see ETs. Some people see UFOs. We can all be in the same room, yet subjectively we might all have a different experience individually.
Understood. And what do you say to those folks out there that are, highly skeptical right now? Those that are saying, well, you have to pay this big price to see some sort of light show in the sky. It's all bullshit. There's people that are saying that right now. What do you say to those folks, Andrew? Seeing is believing, in other words, correct?
I just say, don't believe anything I say. Say that I'm full of shit and go find out for yourself. With today's technology, remember, at 2011, I was not on social media. I was not on Facebook. I was not doing any of that. I would look on YouTube and watch some Greer videos, but I did not want anyone to know I was into this. With today, we have the gift of the internet and the iPhone. You could get all of this information from Greer for nothing. If you just Google him or go on YouTube, he has all this information how to make contact for nothing. And then you could just look up a local group that's doing CE5 for free. There's an app called, I believe it's ET Let's Talk, run by a guy, Costa Macaris. I know him personally. He was a friend of Greer. He does free contact app and meetups. And then if you want to buy Greer's app for, I don't know, $10, that's ridiculously cheap, you can find local CE5 groups, and all the meditations and how to make contact are on there. You don't need to spend the $5,000. Me personally, I'm a kind of person, though, I need to be face to face with someone and see it. So yes. There are people, though, out there like myself that have met with people that have never made contact before. I've met them at meditation groups or at sky watches that were free in Australia. I met people that never did it before. that we had contact together. So you'll find people reach out, with the internet. Oh my God, there's people that do it there for nothing. But to me, there's nothing better. Like Greer's getting older, right? So I'm just glad that I met him years ago while I had the chance, because there were other people that as I got into the internet and started researching things, there are people that I read about and looked into that, passed away now. I don't have that chance. So with the internet and connecting, if you can do it, hey, I just know what it did for me, and we're getting along my journey now, and we'll expand upon this.
Absolutely. And one more thing to add on in terms of Greer, why do you think so many people are so hostile towards Stephen Greer, in your opinion?
People say he's compromised and all this bullshit. I could just tell you this.
I've heard so many stories, by the way. It's just, endless stories from other like keynote speakers that have been with him at conferences. I won't mention any names, but they told me things like, oh, he brings private security and blah, blah, blah. I've heard all kinds of shit. But yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sure. I'm still friends with a couple of his close security guards. They'll remain nameless. But if people go to events, they'll meet them, and it is what it is, whatever. But they're good people. They're good-hearted people. They're caring. I believe that Greer claims that he got attacked and was given cancer. Him and his partner, Sherry, they were partnering to start CSETI.
It's pretty rough.
They were they went to the White House. They spoke to people at the White House. Walking out, Greer said he got blasted. He felt a feeling in his chest he never felt before. He knew he got attacked. He was able to beat it. And Sherry Adamak, this is in his book anyway, there's nothing private, she passed away from it. So at that point, Greer told me he's going to use lethal force. So when I met him, when I met Greer, he said, if anyone comes after me or my team, I will use lethal force. And of course you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, the guy's full of shit. Well, a team member of his went home early, this guy Emery Smith. Something happened on the expedition. Emery had to leave, and Greer's security guard grabbed me and my partner at the time and said, hey, you're a fireman, you're a cop. Would you mind giving me a hand if something goes down? And we said, yeah, of course. We wouldn't just sit there. We're first responders, of course. So the security guard grabs us in the back room, goes, come here, and pulls out a case and opens this case, and there's a 9mm in there. So he said, just in case something goes down, we want to show you guys where it's at in case, we have to use it or something happens to one of us, you could use it. So we were like, okay. All right, I guess this is pretty serious. So if Greer's playing an act out, man, he's really playing it out good. He showed us, that he obviously is protecting himself. His security guards believe it. I could tell you this. I know one of his attorneys personally, a friend of mine, and he represented Greer. And he told me he knows because he represented him as an attorney. He said that the DNI, the Department of Naval Intelligence, keeps an eye on Greer.
Now that's very odd and very unusual.
Why, right? Why would the DNI? I can't answer that, but the DNI is all over this UFO stuff. We know that, right? I mean, come on, Navy's all over this, Air Force is all over it.
Sure.
So I could tell you that he has something, is he a double agent? I mean, obviously, if he's getting into, underground facilities and going to the White House, he obviously has clearances. That's, of course, they're not letting in a stranger off the street to go speak if he really is briefing presidents and CIA people. The guy's got some sort of clearances. So that has to be. If the DNI's following him around, the guy checks out.
Are you saying he's like Uri Geller?
What's that?
I said, are you saying he's like Uri Geller? He's working for the CIA.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he can't bend spoons on camera, apparently, right?
Right. Well, if he knew the proper bending technique, like a Banachek, he could easily bend spoons. It's a bit of a carny trick. Yes.
Well, this is what I say. I don't know Eric personally, but if what he's doing is real and genuine, share it, man. All I could say is what I do, making contact with UFOs, right? We'll get into the psychic stuff in a minute too. I do not do it for anything. I work full time, and in my spare time, I help people. I do readings. I help people. I educate people. I show them. I make CE5 contact. If the day came that someone said, hey, Andrew, you don't have to work anymore and you could just do that all the time and that's your profession. Yeah. But if I didn't get paid for it, I don't give a shit either way because I love it in my heart. I love what I do doing that. I know the healing effect that it has on somebody when they make contact, when they get read, because I got read, I made contact. I know how that changes you. And it helps you evolve, and ultimately, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. So finding the right people at the right time opens doorways, and it closes other doorways maybe that you should have closed a long time ago. So meeting Greer, I had an amazing experience. When I met him in 2011, I think he was genuine to me. Yeah. That's all I could say. What he does with other people, how he's portrayed, I don't know. I don't talk to the guy regularly. I don't care. All I know is I met him and he changed my life.
So you're, in other words, really you're solid. Yeah, you're solid with Greer, and he's changed your life, and the experience you had, obviously, very life altering, as you just explained to all of us here. And, all these things that you're talking about all remind me of a few people, kind of like, what's that one gentleman's name? He called himself like Prophet Yahweh. He was summoning UFOs back in like 2005. I think his name's like Ramon Watkins, I believe.
Yeah, I heard of him. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, what I like the most, like you asked about people paying money, that's why I said in my contact group. I was in the Northeast CE5 contact group right near Albany, New York. 95% of the people in the group never met Greer. Most of them didn't. Most of them just came up to our group, and doesn't cost anything. You just come up and we taught people. We did CE5 together. Most of the people never did it again. Most people would come, check it out, and then, maybe they never come back. It's too freaky for them, or whatever. Everyone's got their own choice.
Yeah.
But we had a solid core group over a good solid, 8-9 years that I met these people, where it was regulars. We had the same people every month. I would drive up 3 hours from Brooklyn, 4 hours from Brooklyn. I didn't care. And then back the same night, and then go work in the firehouse in the morning, because it was that amazing of an experience to see this. And like I said, I wasn't recording this stuff at first. I was just seeing it, absorbing it, taking it in, and saying, whatever this is, whatever these beings are, I haven't noticed anything malicious or evil, or no, people talk about demonic aliens or evil aliens. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, maybe for their reality, maybe that's true. My experience with Greer and these people, it's been just nothing but peace and love, and amazing. Just amazing. And, like that ascension, you rise, man, your vibration increases. And Michael, as I kept going, kept making contact with these people, now abilities start unfolding even more. So, for example, like I said, one night I'm sitting and I see these purple lights, right? Well, now I'm seeing them every time I meditate. Boom, I start to see this like a purple auric field around, like an energy field. Literally, like I could see it. I'm totally conscious, totally alert when I go into a certain state of mind, right? Like maybe you say I'm opening up my third eye. Maybe that's a good description of it. I'm opening my third eye, but I literally can see this purple energy around. And when I see that, I'm starting to connect also with people's deceased relatives. So
strange,
Yeah. So I know this puts a lot of weird things together. So I'm sitting in a contact circle with people, right? We're seeing UFOs. I'm also at the same time, I'm connecting with their deceased relatives. Now, I wouldn't do that in a group.
So you're like channeling all kinds of things at once, in a way.
Yeah. So I wouldn't do that in a group. Like, I didn't like doing that in a group setting with 20 people, because it's not appropriate, because sometimes things come up that are sensitive. However, I would meet with people privately, or just one person at a time, or two people. And I said, hey, man, I'm seeing something. You mind if I share it with you? Yeah, of course, man. So I would say, for example, I have a guy named John coming through that, he took his own life. He's telling me it happened in August. A guy said, holy shit, man, that's my cousin.
This guy took his own life.
Yeah. So I'm just describing to the person I'm reading, hey, man, I'm seeing this. Like, there's someone identifying themselves as John, and they're showing me a tree with a rope, and, they took their life. They left a note. And the person I'm reading, I'm sitting with, they go, yeah, man, that's my cousin. How the fuck you know that, bro?
That is dark. Yeah.
So I said, I don't know that. I don't know you. Like, I don't know you. I don't know your life story, but I'm tapping into something else. So at first, Michael, I thought it was just UFOs. You just see lights in the sky. That's it. Maybe some ETs here and there. Maybe you'll get some ET information or channeling. But I did not realize that accessing the deceased was all part of it. This is at least my experience with this stuff.
Yes.
So I tracked down a medium, right? I tracked down this medium that one time I got a reading. In 2010, my grandmother passes away. Like I said, my grandmother, when I was 15, promised me she'd come through to me. So she passes away in 2010. I walk into a restaurant with my mom, and there's a dude with long gray hair and like 6 earrings in. He's in the restaurant. And he comes up to me and my mother, and he says, someone in your family just passed away, literally recently, like a month or two ago. My grandmother had just died like 2 months prior. So I'm cold as ice right now. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not giving him anything. Yeah. And he goes, okay, this woman had cancer on her face. He pointed to the correct side of her face. He said it spread up her face. It spread out and she died from that. And she's saying that you, it's me and my mom. He goes, one of you was born on Easter Sunday. My mother was born on Easter Sunday in the 50s.
Damn.
Now, how could some dude with gray long hair, 6 earrings in, come in a leather jacket and just say that to us? So I'm like, all right. Now, I'm still skeptical, though, right? Maybe the guy knows a friend of ours, right, or something odd. Right? I don't know. I'm still skeptical. He says to me, he goes, a girl in your family died, and she was buried in her christening dress, and her name is Emma. Now, I go, nope, never heard that. Right? I do not know that. Doesn't make any sense. So after the reading, my mom brings me in her house in the living room, and there's a picture on the wall. There's a young girl with black hair in a little blue dress. My mom goes, come here, Andrew. She goes, see that? I go, yeah, that's you, right? She goes, no, that's Aunt Emma. She goes, she died over 100 years ago. I go, whoa, hold on. Well, why do you have that photo? She goes, no, I just look like her. So it was passed down generation to generation because I look like her. But Aunt Emma died. She got really sick as a real young girl. And her mom, her great-great-grandmother, whatever, buried her in that christening dress. So the medium just told me that, right? You had an Emma that died and was buried in a christening dress. And that photo, that painting, is in my mother's living room.
Yeah, that would have tripped me out.
So at that point, right, I said, all right, this guy either has been in my mother's house, right? Because I didn't even know that. I didn't even know who that was. Doesn't say the name or anything. I just thought, that's my mom. Looks just like mom.
Yeah.
And mom's telling me, no, Andrew, none of us knew her. She died over 100 years ago. They just gave me the photo, the painting. So that was in 2010. He connected me with my grandmother. I knew for sure, right? This guy was the real deal. So to fast forward, I meet Greer. Now I'm living in Long Beach, Long Island. Hurricane Sandy came through. I don't know if you remember that one. Hurricane Sandy rocked the East Coast. Well, my house is underwater, right? All my money that I had in my savings accounts, I put into my home, gone in underwater. I tracked this medium down. I said, you know what? I got to see this guy. And my dog dies like the day before I go to see this guy. So like, I'm done, bro. I'm down and out. I'm fucking finished.
You're
right?
devastated. Yeah.
It can't get worse than this, right?
Jeez.
I go in to see this guy and I sit and he's like, oh, have I ever met you? I said, 2 years ago, but he's like, okay. He goes, you can record this. I said, great. So I still have the recording to this day. He reads me, completely blew me away. He said, I'm having something. There's something coming through. Someone or something small just passed away. They had cancer in their stomach. Now, my dog just died the day before. He had cancer in his stomach, and I had to put him down. The guy says to me, he says, but it's a weird name. He goes, that's why I'm saying someone or something. He said, oh, my dog's name is Odie.
Odie, okay.
So
poor dog.
Yeah. So at the time, I was on Facebook, no social media, nothing, none of that bullshit.
Yeah.
So I said to the guy, I said, holy shit, man, there's no way this guy could know that. Once again, the guy nailed it. Well, at the end of the reading, he says to me, he goes, Andrew, he goes, you have this gift. And I go, what? What do you mean? He goes, you have this ability. I said, nah, man. I said, I'm open-minded. I'm into UFOs and this stuff. But he goes, no. I said, Robert, I'm a New York City firefighter. I'm not a psychic. He goes, you have the gift, though. You have the abilities. You're seeing the signs. You just have to, if you want, I can help you interpret like the messages and the symbology. I said, all right, hey man, I'm open, but I don't believe that I can do it at this point. Well, he says, come back on Saturday. I train people. It's the first time is free. And if you like it after that, it's $20 and I do it for about 3 hours. So to get training from a legit medium that's been doing it over 20 years for $20 for 3 hours, that's unbelievable. But
sounds good
exist.
to me. Yeah. If you're into that and you could fully, I guess you could fully commit yourself to doing something like that. Why not, right?
So I'm like, why is this guy doing it for $20? Like that's fucking nothing. The guy charges whatever, a couple $100 for readings, which are dynamite and worth every penny as far as I'm concerned. But for $20 to train, I said, all right, let me do this. So I didn't need the private reading from him anymore. I just went on Saturday and I started sitting with random strangers and I started seeing, literally, I'd look at them, sit almost face to face, just a few inches away, and I would start to see like a black and white movie being played out above them. Like literally, I would see, picture Charlie Chaplin era, right? Like that black and white style and speed, moving very fast. And I would see, for example, a car driving down the block backwards, smashing into a telephone pole. someone getting ejected and losing their left hand, but not dying. So I would describe this to people and they would say, yeah, that's legit. That is happening. So I just kept doing this, Michael, doing this, but I didn't connect it with the ET thing at first until, like I had said, I'm sitting outside seeing the objects, and now I'm with people and the deceased are coming through.
Right.
All of this is coming to a head. So I remember Greer saying, Andrew, if you just keep meditating, keep making contact, these abilities will just unfold naturally, organically. You know, you don't need psychedelics or any of that crazy shit. Just keep meditating. And as you keep making contact and raising your vibration, more things will open up and it'll be endless. So I just kept doing that. I just kept meditating. And then now I'm reading people outside at night or sitting making contact, vice versa. UFOs are appearing. I'm connecting them with their deceased relatives. And people are like, this is unbelievable, dude. Just don't tell anyone. This is so bizarre, you know? Like, I was like, hey, I'm not walking back into the firehouse and sharing this. Not yet, at least.
Right. And that's another thing I was going to ask you. Obviously, you know, you're involved with you're still, at this time, you were still with the firehouse, right?
Yep. So I'm going back to the fire department, you know, guys are starting to find out, like I just started joining social media, just started taking some photos, wanted to get some information, right? I got to a point one day, honestly, where I was like, fuck it. I don't even care. I don't care who knows. I don't even give a shit now, you know, like I know what I'm experiencing. I know it's real and I can show guys I work with. Like I don't give a shit if they believe me or not. So yeah, I'm coming into the firehouse. They're putting green blow up UFO dolls, you know, around my locker. You know, they're painting UFO signs. That's the firehouse, though. Get used to it. That's how it is. So
they were ribbing you a little bit for a while.
Yeah, but you're accepted because at that point, you know, I'd been on, you know, several years. So you're one of the guys already. They accept you. They know at a fire you got their back. All right, so you're into some weird shit. All right, so what? Like they basically, I didn't think they'd accept it, but they learned to accept it. It just is what it is.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure there were probably a few people that maybe came to you later on and said they've seen things or something of that nature.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, some of the biggest, roughest, toughest, most hardcore guys you could think of would grab me on the side and say, bro, I saw something as a kid. Can I talk to you about it, after work? Can you call me? I don't want to talk. No one can know about this, please. I said, yeah, of course, man. No problem. And it got to the point too. Some guys are like, can you read me? I said, of course, anytime, bro. No problem. They're like, let's do it. Let's just do it in a nice space. I don't want to do it at work in front of everyone, like in front of guys. Cause some guys will laugh and make it a joke and you need it. You got to hold the space, man. You got to do this shit with respect. You're connecting someone with their deceased relative. Number one, that shit better be real, legit, genuine, on point, and sacred, man. That shit is sacred. It disgusts me. I'm not going to name names, but it disgusts me when I see mediums out there and they walk up to people on the street and they read them, or they walk into a restaurant and they just say something. That's unethical. That's bullshit. That's not real mediumship. Real mediumship, you do it ethically. You sit with people, you read them. If they want, you can go into their space. You don't just impede upon their space. You don't do that to anybody in life. So I would always ask guys, hey, if you want a reading, you come to me, man. I'm not just reading people. That's just not how this works. So
were you taking a shot at Sylvia Brown there?
No names, but I just say anyone that's doing that. That's just not how I was taught how to do it. That's all I could say. That's unethical.
Understood.
Like the guy that trained me, Robert Hansen, he said, we don't do that shit here. You want to do that shit? Get out of the door. So I just learned from day one, hey man, that's how we roll, man. The guy that taught me was an old school hardcore Irish Catholic that was psychic, right? Go figure. Guy would go to church every Sunday still to this day. And he had this ability, and hey man, like it comes to all people in all sorts of ways. So that's how I was broken in. I'm glad I don't get involved with that stuff. To that, when I see that, if it's on a TV show or someone's doing it, usually you have to get consent, usually. So to me, then I think, well, it's staged. It's bullshit. Like it's an act. That's not real mediumship. No, man, they're staging that shit. That's nonsense. Because you have to get someone to wave and sign to agree to have their face on TV. So you're getting their permission. You're not doing it on the spot. Come on, man. That's bullshit.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because when you read people, man, some really sensitive things come up. People might flip out or have a nervous breakdown or go hurt. Like, you bring up, like I said, the guy, John's coming through. He killed himself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that on national TV in front of someone, in front of the world. You know what I mean? That's not appropriate, man. It's not appropriate. What were you going to say, Mike?
I was just going to say, dealing with that sort of thing is a sensitive issue. But yeah, one of the people I was thinking about right now is like Stanley Fulham. retired NORAD officer who like predicted back, I think it was like October or something, that there would be all these sightings around New York City. And that's exactly what happened. And I believe I was just going to say, if you wanted someone, I guess you could say that's really credible to some degree, retired NORAD officer, and he's into like channeling and he predicts these dates. It's kind of unusual to come across.
Yeah.
I believe it was
Very
back in
unusual.
2010 is when that happened.
Oh, I remember the date and when he talked about it before. I remember when he talked about it before it happened, and it did happen.
So you know about this guy.
Oh, yeah.
I just the name just randomly popped into my head right now. I haven't even thought about this guy in so long, and I thought, man, this reminds me of, Stanley, and all these names are starting to, surface again here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer of you shape your own reality with this stuff. I didn't understand that at first. Like I said, I thought it was all circumstantial. I'm in this place. Okay, I meet this guy. He teaches me this. But I stuck to the core elements, which was let this stuff unfold naturally. Like, you don't necessarily have to go and train to remote view and join some remote viewing school for, 6 months and pay all this money. You could sit in silence and keep meditating, and you'll, number one, do the shadow work you need to do first, like cleaning all the bad shit out of your house. And then once you do that, then you can get involved with this. Getting into psychic work, getting into ufology, getting into contact CE5 is not the answer in your life if you're going through shit personally. Maybe you should be going to see a therapist instead of sitting in a meditation circle. That's the advice I'd give, because I've gone through things in life. I've lost brothers on the job. I've lost bosses. I've seen guys die. I've seen, horrible shit in life. And I would always seek help and go talk about it. I talk to coworkers. Whatever I had to do, man. Dump that shit. You don't need to hold on to that. Because holding on to it, right, it comes out one way or another. And if you don't deal with it, it's probably not going to be a good way that it comes out.
I'm with you on that one.
Which is a great segue into this. So I'm doing the firefighter thing. I don't want to tell anyone. I start to tell guys. Next thing I know, bang, I get a call from the New York Post. We're going to print an article about you tomorrow. We want to comment. I said, what are you writing? Who are you? I've never even heard of you. I don't even know who this writer is. So they just said, well, we're printing things about your experiences. Can you give a comment? I said, whoa, hold on. You obviously researched me for a few months. Would you maybe want to give me the benefit of the doubt and maybe, I don't know, interview me first? I don't know, right? That'd be a respectful journalist.
That would be the polite thing to do, yeah.
Right? I mean, you tell me.
I think so.
And the girl goes, well, we have enough about you ready. We could just print it. I said, no, I don't have a comment for you. I have nothing. You're not even telling me what you're writing. And I called Ray Hernandez from the Free Organization. You might have heard of him, Ray.
Yeah, actually, I've interviewed him here many, many moons ago.
Yeah, great guy. He's also an attorney. So at this point, right, I'm a firefighter. Someone's threatening. I thought it was a threat. They're going to print stuff about me in the paper. I don't even know what. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to ruin me. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah, that's not cool.
So yeah, I don't even know what you're writing. You're not even telling me. So I call Ray. He goes, don't say anything. You just tell him you don't authorize them. And now I got to call the FDNY. So I have to call the press desk at the New York City Fire Department, which goes all the way to the top to the mayor's office. So the cat's out of the bag now, Michael. Like, I told them everything. I made contact, interacting with spirits. Their response was, and it's even in the email, I still have it. They said, this is great, Andrew. We have no problem with this. What you're doing is positive. You're helping people. You're not even charging them. So we're going to call the New York Post and find out why the fuck do they want to write an article about you?
Interesting.
Because it's not adding up. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like they didn't come across like, oh, we're going to write this beautiful article about you, Andrew. What you're doing so amazing. We want to interview you. Nah, man. And the last article that person wrote about a firefighter was negative.
It was a hit piece.
They wrote hit pieces about firemen and political people. I go, oh man.
Well, what happened?
So fire department goes back and forth, and the Post ran the article anyway a few weeks later. I have a feeling they might have edited a few things because the fire department probably said, why are you going to do a hit piece? The guy's a good guy. Leave him alone. Like, what's going on, man? And 3 weeks later, bang, the article ran. Now, it was a blessing in disguise. We'll get into that. In the meantime, I had traveled to Australia and met a girl. We hit it off. Things were going great. We got engaged. The article came out. We were engaged anyway. It didn't matter. And at that point, we were deciding, okay, is she going to relocate to New York with her 2 kids? At the time, she had like a 9 and 10-year-old. So to relocate to America with 2 children would have been a lot. So I called the fire department. They said, hey, bro, you got a year. if you want to go to Australia and, see how it works there with her and everything, and you got a year to decide what you want, bro, you can come back. All right, great. Fuck it. I'll go to Australia. Why not? Right? Once in a lifetime kind of thing. And bang, come here. Next thing you know, all right, I got to work, right? Got to support a family, got to do something. And I remember saying to my partner, I said, I want to work in a funeral home.
And what'd she tell you?
She goes, great. That sounds really cool. So, you know how magic works? You know how the universe works? I'm a big believer in, synchronicity and trusting your intuition. So I sat outside under the stars and the moon that night, right? And I projected my intention, right?
Right.
And my intention was, I want to work in a funeral home. Literally, just bang. That's it. Very direct, blunt and to the point. And the next morning, I turn my phone on and bang, it pops up that they're looking for someone to work in a funeral home very close by.
Wow.
Literally very close by. So I said, great. So I go in there. They hire me on the spot. Bang, done.
Just like that.
Literally. And usually to get a job in a funeral home, you got to have experience. It's very tough to get in. They usually take people that have been around and know the deal because it can be a very traumatic experience, being around all that death and families.
Sure.
It's not for everybody, once again. So usually it takes about 2 years to start embalming people. If you want, they're very, very, very selective. But like I said, I'm a believer in synchronicity and intention and projecting. So I projected that this was going to be in my future pretty much immediately. And within 4 or 5 months, I was in the mortuary fully embalming. Never did before in my life. Never.
Damn. The universe guided you through all this, through this journey of yours, it seems like, Andrew.
Well, I tell people, listen, the universe isn't going to do anything for you. You better get your ass to work.
That's true. Yes.
The way I work is I don't wait for the universe to respond to me. I'm very proactive in my approaches and very direct and very blunt. And I saw this, so I just stuck with it. And next thing you know, I went from literally just getting in the door to running back and forth, running 2 facilities, basically. You could say that.
And you found yourself down under, man. It's crazy.
So I'm doing it. And of course, right, everyone asks, and, now we can kind of get into that. So yeah, there's a few things that go on. The dead do show themselves. I will say this: one morning I came in very early at a different place, right? I come in and, I worked in multiple funeral homes. When you embalm, you go all over the place. So basically they call you, somebody dies wherever. Hey, can you drive there? No problem. Boom. You go do whatever you got to do. So it's great. It's great. So I go in there and I walk in and I hear my name, Andrew. Like, all right, there's nobody here. There's nobody in the place. It's like 6 a.m. All right, whatever. Now I hear the door like jiggling. So I go out. I'm like, oh, all right. It's a poltergeist. Something's going on. I'm not scared, but it was just interesting. And then I hear footsteps in the hallway up the carpet. So I was like, all right, I open the door. There's nothing there. I close the door. I'm hearing up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, of course, I don't want to say anything to anyone. I'm on the newer side to the industry, right?
Yeah, so you're the new guy.
I'm not exactly ready to go there with people because I don't even know them. However, I'm sitting eating lunch and the girls I'm working with, all of a sudden paranormal stuff comes up and they're like,
ooh.
Yeah, the other day so-and-so came in and they heard that, the child running up and down the carpet on the hallway and the door jiggling.
Oh shit.
So I knew, all right, well, it's not just me, and I'm not quite gonna share yet. I'm just gonna keep listening, right? I just want to hear what else is going on because I'm not in a position to share that information with people.
Yeah,
right?
You're just a fly on the wall at this point.
Yeah, you're new, you shut the fuck up, right? That's what the FDNY told me. You're new, shut your mouth and listen. Of course. So I carry that everywhere. So I just listen, and now I'm hearing the stories of, walking into the coffin room. There's all these coffins, and there's a shadow being running across the room, right? Runs across the room. They look in. There's no doorway. So this thing just ran through, and they were with a family, like people trying to buy a coffin. So they just kept it quiet. They didn't say anything. I sat with a Greek Orthodox priest. Once again, Michael, I didn't even bring this up, but this stuff finds you. So I'm sitting at lunch with like 12 coworkers. They all start spilling their guts about paranormal experiences in the funeral home, in church.
Wow.
There was a Greek Orthodox priest that told me, he said, Andrew, the amount of people that come to this church on Sunday, they said they see black shadow beings and all sorts of different angelic and other types of entities running through the church during service. Okay?
Man,
interesting.
I want to go
interesting to hear.
I want to go to that church. I want to see these things myself. Wow.
Hell yeah.
That sounds cool.
Sign me up, you know? So yeah, I just love it because if you looked at the person on the surface, the guy would never say this to anybody, right? Of course. But for some reason, my experience, my journey with this, people just find me somehow. They come in and they tell me about some bizarre experience or something weird like that. And they go, I don't know why, Andrew. I just feel like I could tell you this.
You and me both, Andrew. We have that effect on people. Yeah, people find me. Yeah.
Then I get into, of course, you know, all right, listen, now that I know we could talk about this, not everyone, of course. I don't tell everyone this stuff. I started to open up because if somebody's psychic, I could see a certain, if you want to call it aura or energy around them.
You get the feeling, in other words, yeah.
Yeah, I get this certain feeling, but I know if it's just they're interested or they're curious, so are they just snuggling at night watching Netflix into this, or are they living it? You know what I mean? Right. I could tell the difference. This is just over time doing this stuff. So as it turns out, they put me in the mortuary, right? And the two people that I'm working with both have psychic abilities. Both. So what are the chances of that, right?
I know, geez.
I mean, right? There's no coincidence in life. So we would just talk about these things openly and normally with each other, of course, right? Because not everyone needs to know this. It's not for everyone. It's for anyone. It's just not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. I mean? That's true. You know, not everyone can handle these sort of things. It gets a little too weird for them. Reality gets a little too weird for them.
Right. And also we would have some deceased coming in. You'll love this one. So a deceased soul, a soul comes in, body bags closed. I don't know the cause of death. No, nothing, zero. But I could see things like psychically. I could see, whoa, I could see facial trauma, right? So I know that either this person was burnt with something or something is going on with the face. And I could feel people think that when you die, oh, they're at peace. They're okay. I'm not going to lie to you or your listeners and tell you that. That's a load of shit. If you kill yourself or you're in a bad space or you're not well or other, I don't even know what to say. Maybe you did things here and you were hiding whatever you were doing. It was really twisted. I know that, number one, on the other side, they may not even come through to you. I don't know what they're doing or what their soul's doing, but they're not going to come through at all. Or they're going to express themselves the same way they did here. They're not going to say, oh, I'm in heaven now. I'm peaceful. Everything's great. No, they are regretting the fuck out of what they did here on earth because to make it right, now they have to wait till you're dead or the people they affected were dead to make it right. Does that make sense?
Understood. Yes. Plenty of sense. And by the way, Andrew, just for the listeners out there, would you say you're religious at all?
I would say I'm just more spiritual. I don't follow, okay. I don't follow anything as a religion, nothing like that. I like to go about life, or even some religions, as kind of like a buffet style. So I think the concept or the avatar of, let's just say, we've all heard of Jesus or Buddha or Gandhi, or maybe the initial concept to be loving and kind. Great, nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
it's universal, just like, religion. There's different little stories, little alternatives. You have Muhammad, who claims Adam was the first Muslim. You have all these little variant stories everywhere, but all of it's all the same bullshit, just different named. It's just named differently, in other words.
Yeah, I'm not into the my Bible's cooler than yours, I'm going to cut your head off now.
Yeah,
that's
all the
not
same,
my style.
Same shit, same shit. I hear you.
People want to do what they got to do. Just stay away from me and my family. You know what I mean? I can't change the world. I'm not a miracle worker, nothing like that. All I know is I'm responsible for what goes on inside of my four walls in my home. And if everyone just realized that and did the right thing, that would have an amazing ripple effect outside of your home.
Do the right thing. Yes. That's something to preach.
I think it's that simple. Yeah.
Do the right thing. Yes.
So like I was saying, Michael, so you'd love this story. So this person came in, they were not well. They weren't feeling well. And I remember the next day, one of my bosses said, Andrew, you got to see this. Now I felt something was off with this, right? Like something was severely traumatic with this individual. We'll just leave it at that.
Right.
So my boss grabs me and he goes, hey, check this out. At 2 a.m, I got a message from the security company. I go, what? He goes, look. And he showed me the surveillance camera, and there were these giant refrigerated doors, and they are moving halfway, right? They are moving halfway extremely slow, slower than normal, halfway, stopping, and then reopening, and then halfway and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now,
how creepy.
He called the door company, right? Because the door company has a log of any movements of their doors, any at all. just in case there's an emergency or an accident, they got to make sure the doors open and stay open, right? So he calls them and they go, we got nothing. There were no activations. That door did not open. We could swear to that. They came down, they checked it. They said mechanically, there's nothing wrong with this door. And I knew Michael. I just, once again, the day before seeing that soul, that person that came in, I knew that they were having an effect, because the deceased, just like the living, you can have an effect on electronic systems. You raise your vibration to a certain level, you can fuck up electronic systems. I've seen it happen. I've experienced it. And it can even happen with a soul that maybe they're stuck in between, or they're not quite where they need to get yet. So, basically to your listeners, don't kill yourself. Go get help. Get help. Do that. Don't mess it up for your family, the ones that have to see this after, the trauma and the after effect and everything that's going on. It's just a shit show. It's horrible. So get help, man. There's plenty of resources out there. That's why I do what I do, man. I love helping people. People wake up at all different points, and we'll get into this now. We're at that point now with COVID.
Yes.
And all the insanity that's going on.
But before we get to COVID, I just wanted to quickly add, last night I saw the movie The Frighteners, with Michael J. Fox, the great horror fantasy of 1996, I believe. I was watching it last night, and, I can't help but think about the movie again, as you're talking to me about all these things, having a special gift, just like Michael J. Fox in the movie.
Yeah. I would say 90+% of the people I met in the industry at some point have told me a paranormal story. Of course they won't go on a radio show and talk about it, and they're working and interacting and doing what they're doing, but they are very alert and aware of the reality. So it is a true reality. And I've just had some interesting experiences with them. I'll tell you this one the other day. You'll like this. So I came home and people asked me, anything ever go home with you? I said, no. I said, but I think my grandmother's around. And they said, why? I said, because I see my 2-year-old, staring in the corner sometimes, and I get that feeling my grandmother's around. I know the vibration of my grandmother. So
interesting. I know. Yes.
So one day I put my daughter down for a nap. And then when I came back, the toys were all over the floor, which is normal. She throws them out of the crib. So I'm home alone. No one's here. At night, I go to put her back in the crib. And when I bring her upstairs in my arm, all of the toys are in the crib, and they're all in one side, the front end of the crib, and they're all facing the same direction. Now, I didn't put them back in. No one came home. And even if my wife had come home and did it, she doesn't put them in like that. So I didn't touch it. Something, because no one was there. It was me and my daughter downstairs the whole day. I brought her back upstairs. All of the stuffed animals, like 20 of them, were stacked up by the headpiece, which I would never put them there because she lays there. Doesn't make sense. They were all facing the same direction. So when people ask me, you ever seen anything in your house? Yeah, that's a little unexplainable for me.
Yeah, all the time you're probably thinking.
Yeah. I've had other people come to my house and say, oh my God, I saw the shadow being, or, saw someone run through, and I haven't seen that, man. I see him outside at night when I'm doing a CE5, but when I go to bed, that's it. The game's over. It's bedtime.
I have a friend of mine that I don't really mention. Well, I shouldn't even call him a friend anymore these days. I don't know what he is, but he's a very dark sort of soul, I guess you can say. He dabbled into lots of, dark things in life, and, was a satanic priest, blah, blah, blah. You know how the story goes. He always told me that his house was haunted, and, I always thought he was kind of full of shit. He's kind of just saying these things, but lately he's been doing these tarot card readings and all this sort of thing, and he's been doing it on video. And I believe it was probably a month or two ago. He had his cell phone set up, and he's doing all these. He's shuffling the deck, and he's talking, and all of a sudden, above him, there's like this black sort of orb that just goes by the front of the camera, and then later on, it sort of passes by a few seconds later underneath. And a few moments later, the cell phone just falls by itself. And, there's no wind or anything going on. I thought that was pretty unusual. And, this guy's not tech savvy. He's not someone who's going to be trying to cause any foolery or anything like that. But you do hear lots of strange audio as well in his recordings. And he says, that's the spirit trying to get your attention, not exactly his, as he's someone who sort of tormented this spirit for such a long time in that house, trying to get it to do shit for him. But yes, it's very unusual once you see, that kind of thing happening. It makes you sort of think, well, is there something going on here? Is the fucking house really haunted? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yes, Andrew, weird shit can happen, I guess.
Yeah, I've never ever over the years had anything negative or any, someone being thrown down the stairs or any of that crazy shit. What I know is people that dabble with this stuff. My take was learn from the best, learn from someone that has only had good experiences. So you will, right? It's common sense. If you do what they say, the best you can, you're probably a good chance you'll end up like them. A lot of people fuck around with this by themselves, or they don't go to a school, or they don't find a good teacher or whatever. So they try to teach themselves, right? From somebody maybe that is telling you there's good aliens, bad aliens, and this and that, and all this crazy shit. And next thing you know, they think they're being abducted like Whitley Strieber in Communion or whatever. So you got to be real careful the bullshit you take in, especially with the day of the internet and everything that's out there. There's a lot of people out there that are pumping out all sorts of crazy stuff that have never been formally trained, and they're putting on a front as one thing, but really another. And deep down,
wait a
they don't
minute,
even know
wait a
what
minute.
they're doing.
Wait a minute.
So,
you mentioned Whitley Strieber. What do you mean by Whitley? I'm just curious. His name always comes up here, not always for the positive reasons, but go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I know he had some, with his, I know the guy that made Communion, Philip Mora. I know him pretty well. So
okay.
we'd spoke on several occasions.
Interesting.
And I know that, I'll tell you this, your listeners will love this. He's a little old man from Australia, and we spoke at length a few times. And he said to me, Andrew, when I started doing Communion, I didn't, I had to see this for myself once again. He goes, so I flew to Whitley's house in upstate New York. He goes, and I spent the night. He goes, and I got abducted. Now, I don't think he's ever told anyone that. So that might be fresh news for everyone. So it is what it is.
Okay.
He said the next morning, he said to Whitley, I had the weirdest dream last night. Like this bright light came and then Whitley finished off and basically told him what had happened. And he's like, holy shit. So then they go to a diner. You'll love this. They go to a diner. They're sitting and eating. Some guy comes in. I don't know if Whitley knew the guy or didn't know the guy, but some dude comes in a suit, sits down and says, you guys are working on making this movie Communion. They're like, yeah. So he goes, well, you're going to need permission for that. I'm going to have to go make a phone call. And the guy, Philip, is like, all right, whatever. So this guy gets up, goes outside. They look down at the table and like the salt or the sugar shaker had written the word. So it was dumped out. It wrote the word alien. Now, nobody dumped that thing out. They were sitting there at the table having breakfast. But that thing was dumped out. It said the word alien. And then supposedly the guy came back in or whatever this thing was and said, yeah, you got the approval. You can do it.
That's weird.
Yeah, right? That's a little strange.
Very
bizarre.
Once
again, I don't know Whitley, but I don't think this old man, I don't think this guy was lying to me. There's no reason for him to fabricate that or lie. It just doesn't make sense.
It's pretty wild. I had never heard that story before. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy that one at home.
Yeah, so I can't validate Whitley's story. I don't know him personally. Like I said, if I don't talk to people directly, I'll tell you, hey, I don't know him. I do not know him, but I know the guy that made Communion, and he just said, Andrew, if you're going to go down this path one day or maybe, make a film or be involved with media or whatever it is, weird stuff, strange things are going to happen. And I said, that's the story of my life, Philip. Like, I'm ready. Bring it on. Whatever it is, bring it.
Yes, and there's so many people in the UFO community. I hate even to say that, but that's how some people out there interpret all these things. Lots of people, say these things. They embellish lots of stories out there. And you believe Whitley's not one of those individuals.
Like I said, I don't know him. So just from what Philip was telling me, if he's telling me that he got taken, I would say then there's a good chance that Whitley had some sort of interaction. Yeah,
something happened.
That's pretty legitimate. And the other fact is the guy never went publicly and tried to sell that story. You know what I mean? Like he just told me that. So I would say it's pretty legit, man. Wow. Okay,
very
cool.
Interesting. Okay, well now, go ahead.
And I didn't pick up anything from him. Like when I zoomed with him a few times, I didn't pick up. If I picked up any bullshit, obviously I would have just stopped talking to him. So nothing like that.
Interesting. Well, I do trust your character in that sense as well. I'm sure you would have detected some sort of bullshit there yourself. And Andrew, yes, we have reached that point where we are going to talk about COVID now for a few minutes here.
Yes.
And you're out there in Australia. What's the scene really like out there in the streets?
Wow. Well, it's the fifth lockdown. We have very minimal cases. I consider minimal, like 13 a day. Like, come on. That's really not much. But that's just for the state of, Victoria, where I live in Melbourne.
Word.
So the whole state overall is very, very low. They were very, very proactive with just shutting everything down last time. Sydney was not NSW, that area. So you're seeing them all over the TV right now. So apparently, they were kind of laughing at us last year. Ha ha ha. You guys are so crazy. You're in lockdown. Well, now the number's 100 plus every day. So it's just a shit show. So they're trying to put a steel grid, like a steel wall around our state. Nobody's coming in, nobody's coming out, nobody's going anywhere, unless maybe you're politically connected or, you work for the government or something like that, because they don't want to take the chance. So yeah, it got out of control from the beginning of COVID lockdown. This 5G thing took off. People were losing their minds thinking that 5G towers were being installed at night. People down here were convinced that we were in lockdown because they were installing 5G towers. The electricians were out at night installing 5G, and there were of course, the other rumor was that the reason we're being shut down at night is that they're evacuating all of these children from underground tunnels here that were like captured and enslaved and all this insanity. So psychically and literally, I did not see any evidence of that. I have nothing to pass on of that. It was just out of control at first. People were just all sorts of wild stuff. People were going around cutting down towers and messing with these electricians at night, when all I think that was happening was they were just trying to work and get the work done. Like whatever they were doing, I don't know what they were doing, but they were just trying to work. That's it. It was nothing 5G related. It was insane.
And would you say 5G is safe, or do you think it's something that you should consider potentially harmful?
Well, I could just say I was an electrician for over 20 years. I went through a 5-year apprenticeship program in Long Island before I was a firefighter. And then I kept working, obviously, after I did my apprenticeship while I was a firefighter, my days off. I did electrical work, so I have a decent understanding about electrical systems and power grids. Decent, not the best, but pretty good doing it all that time. And I would say that, well, okay, if we're worried about 5G, what are we going to do when 6G comes and 7G and 8G and 9G and 10G? Because every year they're going to run a new one out. My internet has never been faster. It's lightning fast, Michael. I can hear you crystal clear. So
nice.
Thank you, 5G.
Thank God for 5G then.
That's all I can say. Yeah. Thank you. Because 3G sucks and 4G sucks. 5G, I hear you great.
I guess we got your answer there. No real fear over 5G. Nothing's going to happen. I did have a guest here say that many people were going to die once the 5G towers were activated.
Well, I could say this, that I don't want to get too dark and gloomy, but what the fuck is everyone so afraid about dying? We're all going to die one day. We're going to the same place. My understanding, I guess my mindset is that we go on forever. So I'm not afraid of death. I don't want to die. I don't wake up every day and say, oh, I want to die. No, I want to be with my family. But oh my God, when I do die, I'll get to see all my relatives that I miss, and then we'll all go on to the next phase. So to me, people flip out. I don't want to proactively die, but to me, it is what it is. It's part of life, right? You're in this. People say, "Oh, the universe has got my back." Really, the universe has got your back. Well, what about COVID and all these amazing elements and hurricanes and tsunamis that we have? To me, I don't think the universe has your back, man. You better protect yourself.
I agree with you, 100%. This is a rough and tumble world, but death is nothing that you should fear. The Egyptians had one of the best, I think, perspectives on death, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know there's different parts of the soul, right? So
sure.
If you get into the Egyptians, one piece stays, one piece goes. And I don't have all the answers, but I'm going in a direction where I could say it makes sense to me, that it's something like that. Of course, I don't know who the designer is behind this matrix. We're stuck in this machine in these meat bodies. I can't tell you for sure. But it's leaning more and more in that direction for me of ancient Egypt, that those people were spot on. And when I have a better understanding of that, I will come back at some point in the future and we can get into all that. I just like to really do my research with things to really get a concrete foundation, Michael. I mean, obviously,
no doubt.
I was making contacts and I was seeing UFOs. I wouldn't even take a photo for 7-8 years and share about it until I had an inkling of what I was talking about. So I do my research at the end of the day. I don't just impulsively react. I try not to do that. I try to really look into things and see all sides of them and learn about the bullshit and the bad sides to say, okay, this is my experience with this. I've met amazing people like yourself, your listeners, and we're finding the others. And what are we going to do when the next variant spreads, right? People are flipping out about this. What about when the next variant comes out? What about when the next catastrophe happens? So I think we're on the verge of people awakening and people totally self-destructing. but it's an individual experience, right? You're either going to individually destruct, or you're going to wake up and say, all right, enough, man. I'm snapping out of this, hallucination or dream that we're in right now. And I'm going to do what I want and find out what's really important to me and live out what my true will is. People say to me, what about God's will? How on earth, this is just me, how on earth could I know or describe the will of the God or the designer of this reality? I don't have a freaking clue. All I could say is I know that I'm in control of what I do and what I make out of that. And to me, that's the gift. That's the gift, is realizing that I'm in control of that. And then now that I realize that, now give it back. Show people. Let's help each other. And we will continue. Our circle is going to get smaller and smaller and tighter when we find more of the others. And that's what times like this do right now. We're finding the others. We're finding out the real friends, the people that really have our backs. Are you experiencing that too?
Sure. I'm experiencing a lot. But during the lockdown, I sort of went into a bit of a tunnel vision, and I sort of blocked off the rest of the world. And, once I got out of that, I looked around and I thought, man, everybody sort of, really fell apart during the lockdown. Lots of people changed. Some very few changed for the better. Most changed for, the worse. But yes, it has affected lots of people around me. But, you have to go forward. You can't just stay, moping around or any of that sort of thing at all. You have to push forward, especially now. Things are getting kind of weird again. You were just talking about a lockdown. That's probably going to happen here in America pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
I hope not, but that seems like...
Of course.
Yeah, it seems like that's what's going to happen. You're seeing the rest of the world, and they're going into lockdowns right now. Most people out there, well, not most people, but some countries, you are seeing that. And my God, you have a kid. Well, you have plenty of kids around you. Are they going to be vaccinated? Or are they?
No. Right now, where I currently live, I don't know anyone. There are all these 5 lockdowns. I don't know one person that had COVID. Nobody near anywhere where I live.
No one has COVID where you're at?
Within miles. I mean, very far. So I look at things practically. If I wake up tomorrow and 95% of my block has it, well, then maybe I need to reconsider that. Okay? I'm not in that situation. So right now, I'm going to just keep living and doing what I'm doing. And when the time comes, just like being a fireman, when you sign up to be a fireman, they say, hey, bro, you got to get a Hep B vaccination. Guys that step through nails, that shit can kill you. We highly recommend it, man. You can't work without, you don't want to do that, man. You could die. All right, you get one. You're not an idiot. However, a new experimental drug that we don't know enough about yet, that I don't absolutely have to get, for me personally, I'm just going to wait. So it's not an emergency right now. I'm not in America. If I was near you, who knows? But I'm not. So right now, no, that's overkill for me,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm in an area that's not really heavily populated, and the COVID numbers are quite low in my area, in my county. Because, I'm far away. I'm in a place called El Centro. It's about an hour away from San Diego. I'm kind of in the desert out here. So, we're kind of secluded from the rest of the world.
Yeah. I think this, Michael, though, I think eventually we're all going to be infected. Either.
Somebody was telling me that too recently, so it's pretty funny that you're mentioning all these things. It's a weird synchronicity, but yes, I think eventually most people are going to catch it at one time or another. I mean, look at all the alleged booster shots, all this stuff I was talking about early on last year, the mandated vaccines, the fact that, this virus is going to keep mutating. It's not going to stop. That's what viruses do. It's going to require another shot, and then you're going to get another shot and another. It's a mess.
Yeah. And I think one way or another, like they're testing the water here for COVID. And of course, the numbers are high, right? They're finding all sorts of high COVID areas. So I just have this intuitive feeling that eventually they're not going to be required. They're going to need to vaccinate you. It'll be put in, just say, for example, it'll end up in the water supply. There'll be some great tragedy, or in the food, like GMOs, or they'll inject that shit in something, and eventually we'll all be infected. You'll either have the virus and fight it off, or you'll get the vaccine. So eventually, or if this really sheds, like I've heard rumors of that, I don't have any proof of that, but if it sheds, so you buy somebody that has it and they breathe on you, or the skin gets on you, so we're all fucked, basically, right? Basically.
It seems like it.
I don't know.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course, the next big one, well, they're trying to make it a big one. It's monkeypox. Lots of cases are being, found here in the States. It's all a mess. It makes you think, who is releasing this? Is this being done intentionally like anthrax was?
Well, people ask me, what do the ETs say? What do the downloads you say? What are you getting? And
what do they say about COVID? What are they saying?
This is what they tell me. And I tell people this, the ETs, the UFOs, they've made a U-turn. They don't want to be anywhere near us. This is a creation of ourselves. However it came about, we did this. We have to figure this out. And they'll communicate with the ones that want to communicate with them. They're not going to show up because why on earth would a peaceful civilization that is much, much older than us, hundreds or thousands of years older than us, they've moved past the point of nuclear war and nuclear arms, obviously, because they're still alive. So if they're coming here, which they are, why would they want to land in a zoo, which is planet Earth, where the animals are armed and already get off on killing each other?
Right. My father made this quick little, not a theory, but he just threw this out there, a peace of mind of his. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking, but now I'm thinking, man, that sounds kind of logical and reasonable. That's probably one of the reasons why this was let loose by a lab. Well, that's one of the theories out there, they say, but I think that's one of the most tangible and reasonable answers and theories. Well, but hold on one second. Just let me finish this. You're going to love this. You're going to love this one, Andrew. My dad said, what if COVID was released purposely to prevent an alien invasion? And I thought, holy shit, Dad, you're a genius.
Like I said, they've made a U-turn, so they do not want to be anywhere near here.
Dude, maybe that happened. Maybe my dad was right.
Yeah, well, I know there's some beings that I've seen literally change shape from just, say, a orb or a ball of light. When I take photos and they come out blurry and people say, oh, that's a blob, that's bullshit, where's the reality in flesh? A lot of these beings, from what I've communicated with them and what I've seen and experienced and know from people in naval intelligence as well, to clarify this,
right.
When they come from wherever to here, whether it's in the Earth or a distant planet, when they come here and they change shape, so they say they come down in a ball of light and they literally shapeshift or change form because of the toxins in the Earth, like COVID and the elements in the environment, they can only hold their vibration sometimes for a few seconds. And when you take a photo, they are vibrating energy. So you're taking, yes, it's a picture of like something shaking or a blob because they cannot take full form. If they did, they would die instantly.
Wow.
And the same thing goes for humans. The Navy has a program. I don't want to get into it, but whatever. I know one guy, legit, because he's got a scar down his chest. He went to another planet, supposedly, right? Interacted with these beings. And the only way he went there, they had to retrofit him. They cut down his chest and they had to install a special breathing apparatus so he could be in that environment.
Now that is crazy.
That's a highly decorated Navy officer. I'll send you his info when we sign off. I don't want to get into it right now.
Yes, please do.
I'll say that, of course, I didn't go there. I didn't see this happen, but I know the guys that checked him out and they're good. They're legit, man. I'll just say that. So something weird is going on, right? That's weird stuff, but that does make sense, right? An ET's coming here or something's coming here from another planet. Well, just like us, we're looking for habitable planets. We can't find them. Why? Because we can't handle the elements.
Yes, we can't physically get there. There's billions of stars, billions of galaxies. There's got to be life out there somewhere. And, that leads me to this next point here, which I should have brought up when you originally brought up you said your grandfather, right? That was in the Navy.
Well, my uncle, John, he passed away last year, is probably the one you're referencing, yeah.
Right, okay, well, him. All the stories they talked about seeing things in the sky, some people even talking about USOs. So, it makes you, with everything going on recently, it really does make you wonder, especially when you think about the endless claims about USOs. When I first heard of underwater submerged objects, I always thought, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No way any of this ever took place. When you think of USOs, that's the first thing you think of, someone that the first time you hear about that, you think, come on, that's bullshit. But then later on, fast forward, many years later, you see this kind of footage from the Pentagon all of a sudden with these things.
Yep, which I'm very cautious because why would they roll this out now? It just seems too perfect.
That's another thing. But yes, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I know there's more to the story. They have troves of documents at the CIA, DIA, NSA, and of course, none of that's included in this bullshit Pentagon report. So I'm not even wasting my time with that. They're just giving you drip drops and crumbs when they know if the real reality gets out and they have to touch the abduction subject, it's going to be a disaster. So they'll never do it. It doesn't make sense to go there. So I don't know what's going on right now, but there's a lot more to this.
Yeah, that report was bullshit, right?
17 page or whatever. I don't know. Are you kidding me? No way. That's insane. There's no way. 70 years of studies. Really? They're just given a few years. They've been studying this since the beginning of time. Just please. So
why so secretive though? Why do you think that? If you could take a wild guess, why do you think they're that way? I think that some people are convinced based on, once again, if you're doing this, if people are experimenting with like the gateway process and they're not doing it the right way, they're having soldiers go in there, or they had scientists going in there that all of them died after. If you don't do this the right way in the right setting, you can go insane. You could lose your mind. So they thought that these non-corporeal entities, like they like to call them, or interdimensional ETs, or whatever you want to call them, they think they're all negative, or they're having negative interactions. Well, if you're showing up as a soldier to them with a weapon or armed, you may not have a good response. But right.
I don't show up armed or weaponized, so I don't think it's the answer to this problem is to weaponize space. I think you are out of your fucking mind if you think you're going to weaponize space and you're going to take these things on. You got another thing coming. They will not tolerate that. Edgar Mitchell said it in an email to Tom DeLonge and Podesta. Our friendly ETs out in space will not tolerate the weaponization of space.
I wonder what's going on with Tom DeLonge now.
Yeah, a lot of crickets. Great question.
I was going to say, he's been really quiet, hasn't he?
I'd love to have a chat with him, about a few things, but he's on the evil alien narrative threat, and I don't play that. So, but I'm not dismissing that with people. What I'm saying is, let's sit down and have a talk about everything.
What do you make of that? There's certain videos online. I'm not quite sure which ones are legit or not, but there's certain videos you see that are titled, U.S. military shoots down UFO, or Israeli military shoots UFO. You see these titles on YouTube and you see these videos, the grainy footage, the grainy black and white footage, and there's a number of them now. Have you seen any of those videos, and what do you make of those?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think most of them, once again, they're being laid out. There's a purpose, there's intent. I think they're explainable. I think the real weird, unexplainable shit, which they have troves of it. Christopher Mellon talked about it. We have so much evidence. The real compelling stuff, like 50 feet away from people within eyesight, they'll never, ever, ever release that. I don't think they'll ever see the daylight. It's going to be too bizarre for people. We're not at that point yet.
Understood. And of course, I know we have to wrap up very soon here. I did have just a few things to quickly add here before we shut it down. And you'll like this. Trust me. Since the dawn of time, ancient man has always looked up at the sky and marveled and wondered about the endless possibilities, blah, blah, blah. That fascination still continues today. Recently we saw Jeff Bezos take a trip to the edge of space. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts and opinions are on space travel and all that sort of thing. And yes, of course, he was heavily criticized and ridiculed for obvious reasons. But yes, my level of interest always increases every time I see the suits so eager to go to space, or the desire to colonize Mars, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts and opinions on that, Andrew?
Well, we got to first take care of each other, because if we're going to go somewhere else and interact with something else, or if we're showing up on a planet that is someone else's, oh boy, we better be real careful if we're going to keep acting this way. So, hey, he's got millions of dollars. He's going to do it. I'd like to take care of each other first before we just run away. But you know how it is with human beings, man. Everyone's out for themselves. Not everyone, but a lot of people are out for themselves.
Right.
And they'll jump ship in a second. People ask me, contactees, if a UFO landed, I talked to these beings, Andrew, and, if they landed and they wanted to take you off planet, would you go? I said, hell no. I said, I'm going down with the ship, man. I'm not leaving my friends and family. I don't give a shit what happens here. If there's a nuclear attack, I'm not going anywhere. That's what you're here for as a human. And when you die, you're going to have to answer to that, or, live with that, or whatever you want to call it on the other side. So hell no. You go wherever you want, man. I'm not going anywhere.
Understood. And Andrew, how are you dreaming these days?
Unbelievable. All over the place, man. People from the past, present, future. People are showing up that I haven't met before. People I haven't talked to in 20 years. The best thing I did during lockdown, I've learned over time, I went from being pissed off like everyone at first. I started writing, drawing, connected with a musical group called Feels Collective. They actually just put out a video last night with some of my contact videos. So things that may not have happened a few years ago, I've just expanded upon dreams. and making the most useful time of my time in lockdown, right? So you might as well make something good out of it.
Isn't that fun when you have people from the past just show up in the present time in a dream and you sort of catch up with each other?
Yep, it's happening all the time.
That shit's cool. Well, Andrew, always a honor and pleasure to have you here on the program. You know, I could talk to you for another hour easily, but we have to wrap it up. We were here for a good time and not a long time.
That's right.
Right. Anyways, Andrew, thank you so much, my friend. Any final words before we part ways here?
Oh, if anyone wants to reach out to me, like always, just look me up on any social media, man. If you got questions, I love talking with people about this stuff. You know, as long as we have an adult conversation, no problem.
Right.
Yeah, man, we're all in this together. So let's try to help each other out, you know, when we can and be appropriate about it.
And where can people reach you?
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. Just Google me. You'll find one of those links, man. Just DM me. We'll talk. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. We will talk again.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael.
Take care, my friend.
Take care.
And there he goes, boys and girls. That was our guest, Andrew Radziewicz. Give him a round of applause. That was a fun episode there. I hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. I don't want to bring us down this path here, but this did come up on my feed here earlier. Now, not everyone likes football. I know. Trust me, I get it. However, this bit of news was a bit surprising for me to hear. At first, it was reported that Rick Dennison, now that's the Vikings coach, he refused the vaccine, and reports were stating that he was going to be fired. He would be the first person to be fired because he didn't want to take the jab. He did not want to follow protocol. And now it's being reported that he hasn't been fired. They're going to renegotiate something. We shall see. We shall see. This is quite interesting because most major places, most major production companies, and that includes the NFL, I would imagine most of those places, the vaccine would be mandated. Certain jobs now require you to be vaccinated. With everything the way it's been going around the world here in America, one does have to wonder, how far will these protocols be pushed? I know I said this on the last show. Perhaps we would be all rounded up, those of us not vaccinated, and maybe force us to get jabbed. Or maybe even worse, who knows? Now I can't confirm that, but it is an idea that's been floating in my mind. One does have to wonder how far these protocols will be pushed down our throats. Who knows? We will find out though soon enough. Were the conspiracy theorists right all along? Social credit scores, Big Brother, Agenda 21, the list goes on. Those of you in the chat room, thank you so much for being here with me this evening. You are a part of the program. It's true. Yes, you in the chat room. And of course, you listening at home to the podcast version of this program. You are a part of the program. International listeners out there, Guten Morgen. Much love and respect to all of you. Keep in mind, if you want additional content, please go to patreon.com/Michael Decon. And yeah, that's where gold falls from the sky. By the way, Monday we will be going live. Mike Hideous will be here, and we'll bring it down faster than a Chinese hospital. You can guarantee that. Now, boys and girls, I am sad. I don't want to close shop here, but looking at that time, and time has certainly flown by. And I did state here earlier before, we were here for a good time, and not a long time. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Regardless, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me here tonight. We will do this again very, very soon. Much respect to all of you out there listening to the podcast rendition of this program. I did not forget all of you. I mentioned you before, but you are on my mind. You are always on my mind. Like that Willie Nelson song. Once again, take us on the road with you by searching Michael Decon or the Michael Decon program. And yes, you will find the show there. It's been fun, boys and girls. We will do this again. On the other side, I'm Michael Decon, reporting to you live from Hell Central, California, a place where you too can go missing. And with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody.
Mike in Montclair. What's up, Mike?
Governor, next time you want to sit on a beach that is closed to the entire world except you, you put your fat ass in a car and go to one that's open to all your constituents.
Well, you know,
not just you and yours.
Interesting, Mike. You know what?
What's that? What's that, Gov?
You know, Mike, I love getting calls from communists in Montclair.
Communists in Montclair.
You know,
you're a bully, Governor, and I don't like bullies.
You know what? And listen, I'm not the one who came on the air. Hey, hold on, Mike. Mike, I'm not the guy who came on the air, swore on the air.
Who swore?
And so you did.
Get the heck out of here.
You know, you're swearing on the air, Mike. You're a bum.
You know,
so
you
let's just go. Bad optics, okay? Mike. And I'd love to come look at your optics every day, buddy. That's you know what, and you know what, Mike. What matters is what you do. That's what matters.
What have you done?
What I just did was stop.
You, of course, you were a headline guy.
I'm still a headline guy. You know what I mean?
For a while you popped out. Now you're coming back. For a while you were actually you were running a gym. Tell us about that.
Running a gym?
Weren't you running a gym at some point?
You're supposed to be a news guy. Where you getting your fucking information?
That's our research. You weren't.
This is ridiculous. I come on CNN and the guy don't even know what he's talking about. Go ahead.
You at no point were you running a gym?
No, running a gym. What?
No,
you need a workout or something? Jesus fucking Christ, with these guys. I come on the news for 2 seconds, and you want to say, every time I do an interview, a guy wants to open his fucking mouth. Can't even do a little fucking routine here.
We thought that you could hold back.
Go fuck yourself. You know what?
All right.
Fuck the whole fucking network.
We'll go back to talking about Art Carney.
Asshole guy.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Fill you in on